He's finally doing it! It's a top 10 list! Man, does he want all those clicks! Yep, this is the top 10 NES games, beginning with the letter F. So here are the basic rules. The game has to have been released on the North American or European NES. Sorry Famicom, you didn't get the love you deserve. So games like Famicom Ego Newmon won't make the cut. Also, of course, the game has to start with F, and another F word. I'll limit this to one per franchise. And yet another word that starts with F. The game has to be fun! Okay, let's go! The NES is home to tons of racing titles, several of them even starting with the letter F, and all of those centered around the Formula 1 license. Despite how cool the Formula 1 games were that I tested out, it was Ferrari Grand Prix Challenge that boasted the most enjoyable controls overall and was just the most fun I'd had on the track. And that's pretty surprising because when Acclaim's name appears, it can be pretty hit and very miss. I'm definitely getting that feel of speed, and the map at the bottom right really does help me anticipate upcoming curves. Plus, that's just some sweet music! I'm a-driving a my Ferrari. Gotta love me some Family Feud. Considered one of the greatest game shows ever created, Family Feud pits two families against one another as they try to determine the most popular answers given when questions were asked to 100 people. Survey says... Despite the contestants looking like melted wax museum exhibits, Family Feud for the NES plays exactly as you'd expect. Although I tend to think the computer team cheats. It's best played with a real person so you can keep a close eye on them. For some reason, the CPU family always has an excuse for not playing for fast money. What? Also remember, this is a game from the 80s, so some answers may not be as relevant today as they were back then. Huh? What? Yes, the Sega Classic really did appear on the NES, and it's just as enjoyable as you may remember. There are actually two versions of Fantasy Zone at play here. The first, a Japan-only release, was produced by Sunsoft in 1987, but we can't use that one because it defies the laws of this list. We can, however, refer to the unlicensed but still released Tengen version in 1989. As the intergalactic currency system begins to crumble, a new war begins whereby enemy forces are stealing funds from other planets to fund a brand new fortress. The Space Guild enlists Opa Opa, a fully self-aware space vessel, to single-handedly stop all its opponents from stealing and building their citadel. Fantasy Zone stood out above the rest for its multi-directional space shooter gameplay, as well as the ability to collect money and shop for upgrades as needed. And of course, its wacky bosses! The NES port does the Sega Arcade Classic just fine. Just fine. We don't care if it's unlicensed, do we? I really wasn't a fan of Solomon's Key when I was a kid, but little did I know, there's a prequel called Fire and Ice, known as Solomon's Key 2 outside of North America. The people of Cool Mint Island need your help. A nasty wizard has set fires everywhere, so why not hire the least experienced magician to deal with it? Yeah, huh? The Queen of the Fairies gives Dana the power to make ice appear, and now Dana has to travel all over Cool Mint, dousing flames with the power of ice. The puzzle stages start very simply to teach you the ropes on how to make ice appear, how to create conjoined cubes, and how to push ice cubes and make them drop onto flames from above. But don't you become complacent now. The puzzles will certainly challenge your brain. You'll have to keep a cool head about you to succeed. How fare ya, fair maiden? This one's a bit more obscure, but I wish it wasn't. Developed by Game Arts, the folks behind Lunar and Grandia, among other things, Faria, a world of mystery and danger, yeah, they put that right in the title so you know, is an action RPG that plays similarly to games like Crystalis or the Ys series. Being an RPG, it has a fairly long-winded story, but basically, you are a woman soldier who awakens in a strange town far away from your home country, within the kingdom of Faria. A wizard has kidnapped the princess, and the king's offering a special deal: one free hand of marriage with return of princess. What a deal! Of course, you being a woman and all, you get shafted. But hey, there's a feast afterward. Then everyone gets poisoned, yada yada yada. Mishaps ensue, king gets turned to stone, wizard, yada yada. Good old-fashioned fantasy stuff. Random battles are definitely present, but man, they're pretty tough. Enemies move rather quickly. You'll probably die quite a few times at the beginning if you're not prepared. Of course, this makes it hard to gather gold, since they take half away if you perish. Still, if you want a solid and challenging action RPG, Feria might be the ticket to paradise. Plus, townsfolk! Woo! Fist of the North Star, also known as Hokuto no Ken, was a popular manga and anime in the 1980s starring Kenshiro, a mighty martial artist, who is bequeathed a powerful art, the Hokuto Shinken, which gives him superhuman killing abilities by tapping into enemies' key weak points. He lives to rid his surroundings of anyone who wishes harm on others, even his friends if necessary. Around the time of the manga's English localization, we got Fist of the North Star by Taxan, a game where Kenshiro wanders all over the place, kicking the living thornberries out of any punk or hoodlum in the central imperial capital, making them burst into a bunch of chunks before flying away. There's something satisfying about that. He can also leap higher than the average house for some reason. Overall, this game's just straight up over-the-top action, pure and simple, and that's good. The NES was fortunate to not have just one, but two Flintstones games, both of which are actually quite good, so it was a bit difficult choosing between the two of them, but I have to go with Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak as the superior game. Pebbles and Bam Bam escape their respective homes and end up getting stuck on the other side of an erupting volcano. It's up to Fred and Bonnie to rescue them, once they pay off a pterodactyl to help them. What pushes this game ahead of the other, the rescue of Dino and Hoppy, is that you can finally play as both Fred and Barney, being able to switch between them on the fly with one tap of the select button. Each member has their own fortes. Fred can climb onto surfaces and is generally stronger, while Barney can grapple ropes and shoot long range with his slingshot. Also, you can play prehistoric hockey, which, yeah, that pretty much seals the deal. Sadly, this is one of the rarest NES games out there, with rumors floating about that it was only available in Blockbuster video stores. But this hasn't been confirmed. But what is known is that, you'll be paying high prices for a legit copy of this. The game that started a mega successful franchise. Here is where it all began, the tale of four brave youths, the Light Warriors, each of whom possess an elemental orb tarnished by the forces of evil. Final Fantasy was one of the most popular and influential RPGs on the console and introduced a generation to the genre with its graphic turn-based battles where you could actually see the action. Sorry Dragon Quest, your static images have no power over me. The warriors traveled on an epic journey across multiple continents, culminating in a neat little plot twist that weren't common to games of that era. Actions like engaging in random battles and being able to buy and equip weapons, armor, and spells were relatively new to NES players who hadn't seen much of that before. In fact, there weren't that many turn-based RPGs available to Nintendo fans before Final Fantasy, except for Dragon Warrior. But Final Fantasy laid the groundwork well for not only a flourishing series, but an ever-expanding and far more popular genre of games altogether. This was also the game that saved Square from epic ruin, so we can thank this for this. Meow! He's a feline, and he's feisty. I can't really speak to how relevant Felix the Cat was in 1992, aside from a direct-to-video movie a year earlier, but it really doesn't matter because this is a great platformer. Playing as Felix, who is forced to rescue his girlfriend Kitty from an evil professor, he must traverse 9 worlds of cartoony madness, leaping his way through peril and risking his 9 lives to reach his goal. Boy, doesn't that just sound like it was ripped out of an instruction manual? What pushes this game ahead is its platforming variety. Felix starts out with just a punching glove as an attack, but as he collects more weird floating Felix icons, he can quickly upgrade himself in a variety of ways, including spreading magical dust everywhere, hopping into a tank, and, my favorite, riding a sweet motorcycle and attacking with a triumphant bow! With responsive controls, vibrant colors, and an upbeat soundtrack, Felix the Cat is as solid a platformer as they come. If you know anything about me or this channel, you shouldn't be surprised by this choice. Faxanadu is, hands down, my favorite NES game ever made, and it has been providing me with earth-tone mysticism ever since I was a young lad many centuries ago. Faxanadu tells the tale of an unnamed heroic character who has to save the world tree from a meteorite that has caused the elves and dwarves to fight and turn dwarves into monsters, and so why is this my #1 pick? First of all, there's a huge world to explore. This isn't your grandma's pantry. From the world tree's crusty trunk to a mist-laden epicenter, this place has it all. Not to mention plenty of dungeons to nab and stab in. It plays like a more earthy version of Metroid, where acquiring items or solving problems in one place opens the way to new parts of the world tree. The graphics are set in strong earth tones, giving this one an atmosphere unlike any other game I've played. And the music. It's practically transcendent, drawing inspiration from Middle Eastern and Arabic music. And it's by the Bomberman lady. Plus, and this is important, the feeling of stabbing, combined with that epic squelchy sound effect. Oh, so satisfying. Granted, there are definitely improvements to be made, like having to go through several rambling text boxes to buy each and every item, but the good absolutely outweighs the bad. And that blinking...
Oh my god, it's so juicy!
What? Your favorite didn't make the list? My entries are in the wrong order? Sound off in the comments, you peppery malcontent. Bye-bye! Thanks for watching! If you have retro hype of your own, consider dropping a like, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment. Yeah!